guys would just let me sit here if I did not.
Not very long.
That's good to know.
We would like to know.
Good to know. We got 6.
6 o'clock.
All right.
Roll to 6.
All right. Good evening and welcome. Before we move into our regular council meeting business, I'm opening up the floor for a public hearing regarding Resolution 21-24 to establish an industrial development district, the number 1 for the Hancock Business and Technology Park. So if anyone wants to address the council on this topic, you may step forward and speak. Yeah.
I mean, we're just here to kind of see what you're proposing with that. We got a few interested companies that are interested in possibly putting some buildings on that site, so we're just kind of here to see.
And you are? Sorry.
No, Derek Levin.
Okay.
So we just want to see what the proposal is. I've read a little bit on it, but they haven't much of it developed yet, as far as what they're going to do with it.
Well, we're developing a business technology park. It's my understanding this is some type of economic incentive. Is that correct, Mary? For
It's an economic incentive for any new construction on the site. The site is not fully developed yet. It's going to be, at this point, anywhere from 2 to 4 acre sites. So of the 40 acres, there's about 1.5 acres or 2 acres that are really undevelopable. Other than that, and if a company is interested, it is something they would have to submit an application to the city council and apply for this special economic incentive.
I think the other key piece of information is it's primarily designed for manufacturing type operations. There's a few other exceptions to technology and some very specific carve-outs, but it's primarily for manufacturing.
Is there going to be tax incentives then?
That it allows for the granting of an abatement of approximately 50%. It's 50% of the local taxes. The state, the SET is not abated unless the state is involved for an incentive. They may abate that 6 months.
So the park isn't just meant for manufacturing. This abatement is correct.
and this is the public hearing, so it's free. Anyone who wishes to speak may. So, because we will discuss this as an action item later, but public won't be able to comment at that time. So this is the opportunity now. So if you guys have any other questions on this.
So the goal of it is to put another tool in the toolbox for development.
Yeah, because we just talked to a couple of people that are kind of interested in that area of building some businesses up in here. So we're just here to see what you guys are going to propose.
Of course. Did you have any other questions or comments on this, specifically to the industrial development district?
So maybe one thing to say, maybe for clear, for my understanding and for others as well. My understanding of the point of the resolution tonight is to make the possibility of incentive available, which would still then be negotiated with the city with proposals.
Okay.
So the purpose of doing this resolution is it's a step in the process to make an abatement a possibility. Not a guarantee, but a possibility that could be negotiated with a proposal to develop one of the sites on the property.
Yeah, so I'm saying it's part of a statutory scheme that allows us to accept those proposals and then weigh on them. Otherwise, we would just take everyone as is.
I think you can also control how long it lasts also. Right?
The abatement, yes. And the district, you can also terminate it at any point.
Okay, so we're still in the public hearing. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the matter before we open the floor for a regular meeting?
I guess I could ask what the plan is for how far the city would go. Are they going to put the water and the sewer and the roads and sidewalks? Is that the plan?
The plan right now is to put in all the infrastructure, and that does include the water and sewer to like the current plan. So it's available for the sites. We're attempting to determine where those should be located when we're parceling out the property. So that's still in the planning phase, so if you know somebody that might be interested in a certain size, that could maybe be accommodated in our planning purposes, but yes, the water, the sewer, there should be sidewalks, the road will be all done, street lighting. We do plan on having it all set for development. And there will be, the goal will be to have 1 or 2 sites ready, site ready, when we're done with the construction.
Construction is hoping to start next summer.
Yes, so it's gonna go out for bid in early spring, and hopefully within 2 months after that, construction will start.
Any other discussion? All right, well, thank you for attending. I will now close the public hearing on Resolution 21-24. Again, as mentioned, there will be an action item, and councilors and the city manager will discuss that further later on in the meeting. So now I will officially call to order the regular City of Hancock Council meeting of Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And the roll call, please.
Blau. Lytle. Freeman. Levine.
Here.
Rickard. Worsler. Heisler.
7 present, none absent. We do have a quorum. Moving on to review and approval of the agenda. Are there any items to add, Mary?
No additions.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion then to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, comments, corrections, questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to communications, we have our assessor report, sales study, and the Houghton County sales study. Quite a lot of detail in there about different sales from the last few years in the city and the Houghton and Houghton County, and a lot of interesting facts there, but I'll just move into the approval and acceptance of the reports here.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion, comments on the communications? All right, all those in favor, please say of accepting said communications, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we move on to our first public comment. So anyone who wishes to address the council on any matter, you may step forward, state your name and address, and speak freely. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? I'm not seeing anyone who wishes to address the council, so I will close our first public comment. There will be a second opportunity for public comment near the end of our meeting tonight. Next is some housekeeping. We have a review and acceptance of meeting minutes and reports from the Portage Lake Water and Sewer Authority of November 9th, 2021. Entertain a motion to accept those.
I'll move. Acceptance. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on those? All right, all those in favor of accepting the PLWSA meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next is our meeting minutes, review and approval of the regular city council meeting minutes of December 1st, 2021. Entertain a motion to approve those.
Move to approve. As submitted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, corrections, discussion on our meeting minutes from December 1st? Okay, all those in favor of approval, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we move on to our administrative reports. I'll turn it over to our city manager, Mary Babcock. You have the floor. Go ahead.
First of all, we'll be having our employee party this Friday at the fire hall, and it would be great if anybody from the council would like to join us. It will start at 1 o'clock, and I think that everybody's looking forward to it, and it's nice to get together and show the appreciation to the employees. We had another successful home holiday decorating contest. Bob Wentz was the ultimate winner this year at 938 North Elevation Street. So if anybody hasn't seen his display, it's quite extensive. He put a lot of work into that, so we do appreciate it. And we did have 6 people judging, so we did have a pretty big turnout for that. In the past week or so, the MEDC has put out 2 incentive plans. One is for revitalization and placemaking, and that is something that we are eligible for. So we're looking forward to working with different areas within our area, different groups that maybe possibly will submit an application using KETA kind of as the placeholder. Or there's a possibility that the city could also do one ourselves. So we can either support an area-wide one that will supply funds to different projects in the area, or the city will be looking at trying to work on something for ourselves. And those projects, I think, range between $50,000 and $5 million around in there, of the $100 million that's out there. So, sounds like a lot of money, but it slowly dwindles away. There is another opportunity out there, but that is for low income areas that we do not qualify for. So it is definitely a great opportunity, and that comes from, it's made available from the state through ARP funds. So it's good to see that they're trying to spread it out to the different areas in the community. And then we also have an opportunity. Last year, 2021, there was some COVID money available to small urban. They have now changed the rules, so we are able to apply for our third of this area's funds, and we will be able to use our lost revenue, Act 51 revenue, to gain that. So that's about a $27,000 gain for the city once we apply for it and show our lost revenue, which we definitely meet the guidelines for, so there should not be a problem. And that will give us a little bit more funding for some local street work in the upcoming year. And then the campground upgrades at the bathhouse that LJJ has worked on all summer. These are finally complete and signed off on, and they're all ready for next spring. And it is a great addition to the campground, and I think that it will really improve the accessibility to a different audience than we've had before there. So we're excited to see that move forward and open up in the spring. It turned out great. So next spring we'll maybe have something, because Portage Health Foundation helped with our cost share for about $30,000 of it, and then the DNR Passport grant paid for the balance. So that was a project that was well worth all the effort. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mary. Are there any questions for our city manager, John?
Yeah, real quick, you made me think of something, Mary, on the campground. And I apologize, I forgot which way it went, so I'll ask you and I can follow up later. But one of the a resident approached me recently and suggested either converting some of the RV sites to tent sites or some of the tent sites to RV sites. I don't remember which way, but basically, whichever one gets more use, maybe making more of the sites.
So the tent sites are definitely more rustic, and they would have a hard time accommodating an RV, and that's really why they're designated the way they are. There is a possibility, and it would definitely be that we need more RV sites than tent sites.
Yeah, okay.
But those are definitely more rustic.
So it would be difficult to.
It would be pretty difficult, but anything's possible with money.
Well, I mean, it's always been, the campground's been very popular
Yes.
and very successful, and get a lot of people coming back, a lot of people loyal to it. And with the improvements that have been made there, continually, but certainly more recently, with the rec millage, we've been able to make more improvements more quickly at the campground. Anything that we could do to maximize the amount of space, because it seems to be the demand is there. Right? It's one of those things where if we had a bigger campground, we could probably,
Yeah, if you build it.
yeah, exactly, if you build it, it'll come, so, just,
So this year, the big capital improvement on the campground will most likely be improvements to the fire areas in each of the sites. They have not had any attention, so that'll be the big one, but I also will keep that on the radar to see if we could easily convert a couple of the tent sites.
Okay.
They're just smaller and the access to them isn't that great. We did improve some of the access this summer to them, but that would be the big things, get backing up an RV into the sites.
gotcha.
What about someplace off to the left as you're coming in? You know what I mean? There's all where the water station is through there. I know that's.
So there is a possibility of building sites between the campground and the beach. You know, that would be something that there are visions both ways on. And so that would have to take some consideration if we want to keep that buffer zone. Because we also do own a little bit more property to further west,
At the parking lot, right?
um,
After the parking lot.
behind the tent sites.
Thanks.
Awesome. Anything else for our city man?
Was there a second or third place in the home that way?
Yeah, one was on Copper Drive and one was on Elm. So 724 Elm Street, I think they won last year and they got third this year. So I guess they have music playing. People really love the music.
It was nice seeing.
I have a question, Mary. I know it's been answered before, and I don't know, there's so many things going on, I forget. I know I've talked to Jeff about this, and maybe even John and Glenn, about this low mod. Okay, why are we not low mod, and how do we get low mod? I understand, because I know, anyways, but I just wanted to clarify or review that again. Because I know why Houghton is, and it's unfair, I think, and all that, but why are we not, and how do we get there?
So at this point, MEDC is really not allowing people to do any type of surveys or anything to become low mod. They are just really keeping what it is, and I think there is, my understanding is they somewhat changed their way their granting process works, where they're trying to consider things and they're giving more opportunities to areas that are not low mod. Because the low mod pool in their new programs is much smaller funding, but right now we don't really have any option, and with the 2020 census, that didn't help us. In fact, when I was talking to MEDC, they said our average wage in Hancock is higher than even in Marquette. Which is shocking.
It's unbelievable.
We used to deal about 500 to 1,000 students from Houghton, put them in Hancock, and Hancock would be low mod and Houghton would.
I know.
I can't speak to what's happened recently, maybe Mary could, but in the past, there was an effort to try to more centralize, maybe make a neighborhood survey, and that was not successful with the state. Basically, saying, well, if you won't take the city as low mod, would you take, maybe the DDA district or the downtown as low mod and do an income survey there. So for those who are wondering what we're talking about, if you're not following it, our median income, is it median or mean that I think it's median income in Hancock is actually, the way it's measured is higher than Houghton's, even though you would think those of us who live in the South Country would view Houghton as a more affluent city than Hancock, but because of the number of students that live in Houghton, that drives their median income way down. So they basically are considered a much poorer community in terms of funding than Hancock is. So they have a lot more advantages in state programs for funding cycles than Hancock does, which seems counterintuitive if you're familiar with the two cities. But that's how Hogan has managed to do many downtown programs. Hancock can still get involved in the programs, but the requirements are different. So sometimes a Hogan business can get a 75% grant to do some work on their business, and because of their income level for the city of Houghton, they don't have to have any type of job creation requirement. Where the same business, if you put it in downtown Hancock, it would be tougher to get, maybe a little bit tougher to get the money. Plus, there'd be a lot more requirements that would be harder to meet. So if it's an existing business and you're not creating a bunch of jobs, it wouldn't work. So, anyways, the long and short of it, I'm sorry, is
That's okay.
We've tried to battle this, and maybe if you have a neighborhood in mind, if you're thinking core downtown, maybe that's an avenue we could ask again. Is could you work on a section that is met, but our city manager is shaking right now, so.
There is a small section of Hancock that is low mod income, but they are looking at it overall now. They do not look at it by area anymore.
It's just the municipality boundaries, that's what they look at.
And Calumet and Lake Linden are also low mod. It's just the way we're fortunate in some ways that we have a higher income level.
I just find the metrics a little questionable, I guess. That's just me. I don't know. All right. Anyways, thanks. That answers my question.
They're highly questionable, but it's being driven by the ratio of the student population.
You're right.
We need more students.
Okay. Well, sorry, I didn't want to take up so much time there. But that low mod triggered me a little, and I was like, oh, there we go. There's something bugging me. I remember what it was. Anyways, anything else for our city manager? Administrator. Okay, we'll move on to our business items then. So we have new business item number 1. Consider approval of the current accounts payable in the amount of $263,206.74.
I'll make a motion to pay the bill.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion, corrections, anything on the accounts payable? All right, unless there's any objection, I don't hear any questions on our discussion on the accounts payable, so I'm going to put it to a roll call vote then, please.
Heisler,
Yes.
Horsler,
Yes.
Burkhardt,
Yes.
Levine,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Lytle,
Yes.
Blau.
Yes.
All right, 7 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. The quote bills have been paid, unquote. All right. New business item number 2, consider adoption of resolution 21-24 to establish an industrial development district number 1 for the Hancock Business and Technology Park.
I'll move that we approve that.
Second.
All right, I'll give the motion to Mr. Ricard, and then Freeman has the second. Discussion. I feel like I understand it, but I just want to make sure we understand what's going on here. Because I'm glad some people came today interested in the park as a whole, but I think this is just more narrow as to an incentive for certain types of interested parties. I think manufacturing, and as Jeff said, maybe some other exceptions. But any questions are always welcome as to our technology part. Feel free to contact our city manager. We'd be happy to work with you on anything there. But anything concerning this establishment of a industrial development district?
I understand why businesses are interested, and I understand why municipalities provide these incentives. I personally don't. I feel like it's kind of a race to the bottom in terms of how much a municipality can give to attract certain types of businesses. And there is risk involved when you're trying to attract certain groups. But the business is established enough to build, and they look attractive, then they should be able to kind of pay their fair share of taxes. There's already a lot of federal, state, and local money going into this. And there's businesses popping up all the time around the city that are not able to get this abatement. So I understand why it's a desirable tool, but I think that overall communities would be better served if they did not offer these types of abatements for taxes.
Thank you, Will. Any discussion, rebuttal, agreement? discussion? No. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote then, please, unless there's anyone who wishes to speak. Linda, go ahead.
Blau,
Yes.
Lidle,
No?
Freeman,
Yes.
Levine,
Yes.
Ricard,
Yes.
Worsler,
Yes.
Heisler.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. The resolution has been adopted. Resolution 21-24. New business item number 3, consider appointment of Faith Morrison to the Hancock Transit Local Advisory Council.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. I would third if there was such a thing, but I think it would be great. But is there any discussion or questions on Faith's appointment to the Transit Council? I'm assuming she's accepted and is interested.
Yeah, she was very excited
Okay,
to
good.
come on board and has a lot of interest in this topic. And as far as our advisory board goes, there is not a term end date. It is something that is a function between the mayor and the member.
Okay. I'd like to thank Will for bringing her to our attention too, right? So thank you for that. Okay, well, if there's nothing further, then all those in favor of appointing Ms. Morrison to the Transit Council, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. She has been appointed. New business item number 4, consider approval for non-represented staff wage increase of 2.75% effective January 1st, 2021. Is that right for this year?
2022.
You should say 2022. I'll rephrase that then. Consider approval for non-representative staff wage increase of 2.75% effective January 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mary, do you want to maybe preamble this or?
So this percentage derives from a couple of our union contracts. We have, our DPW is at 2.9% this year, the police are at 2.75%. So normally the non-represented go the lower of the two rates.
Paul owns the on this one.
Who's that cover? Who covers?
Cover.
Does that cover our?
Rick should those things.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
I will.
that was my question. Yeah, I'm gonna-
I kind of narrowed it down that it did cover the
Yeah.
ladies in the building. But I wanted to make sure.
There's like 6 of us.
Okay, so I accept your abstention request. Any questions or discussion on this?
I'm curious if this increase kind of keeps up with the changes in the cost of living. Not just for this year, but through our, the unions may or may not be negotiating the changes in the cost of living. I wonder if in the future, it might make sense to consider doing percent increases to the cost of living changes.
So when we do union negotiations, we actually make an effort to omit a COLA from those negotiations, so that the city's budgeting process is a little bit smoother, so we know what we can plan on, especially since benefits change every year. So that's why we just standardize it for the term of the contracts. And we really, I feel, it's respectful to the unions to keep the staff, non-union staff, similar to their raises.
And our contracts are up next year, right? End of next year.
Right. Next December they're up, so we'll start negotiations next.
And that's something
summer.
they could bring up, of course, as
But
far as with
it is
inflation.
one of
and-
those, and it's definitely delineated, saying this is not enforced right now.
Interesting. Good question. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I can see why it could come up in future negotiation if the non-union staff were to get a higher percent increase than one of the union staff, but it seems like always going with the lower is a disservice to our non-union staff. I mean, you'd almost want to say, you know, if they're different, if we have union contracts with different percentages in there, maybe we should, take a mean percentage of them for the non-union staff, so, they're treated fairly rather than treated, I would perceive it as more fairly mathematically than saying, well, you're always going to be tied to the lowest of the union amounts, union percentages, if that's what the council approves. So, I would argue if you get a 2.9 or 2.75, maybe we should go on,
So on that,
2.825 for the non-union staff.
on that note, this year, we are following the police contract, and they are on the same timeline as us, so I feel pretty comfortable that we should stick with what the police union has in place, because they're also on MERS.
Okay, that's a good reason. I can see that. I just don't want the non-union staff to somehow think we don't value them.
I agree.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, so again, the motion is to approve a non-represented staff wage increase of 2.75% effective January 1st, 2022. Do a roll call vote on this, please.
Heisler,
Yes.
Horsler,
Yes.
Picard,
Yes.
Levine,
Yes.
Freeman, abstain, Lytle,
Yes.
Blau.
Yes.
All right, 6 in favor, 1 abstention, motion carries. New business item number 5, consider approval of payment application number 1 to Portage Lake Construction in the amount of $165,367.69 for the work completed on FEMA PW 157.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? We almost done with FEMA.
So this is their second to last FEMA project.
So,
And this one was, Portage Lake Construction was kind of working at different spots throughout the city. I think there were 5 locations. It also included the portion at General Glass that was outside of the FEMA project, but we did an alternate into this project to get that work done. So there was work done on Lower Tiscupu, up by Dunstan and Harris, Dakota Street, and Forest Street. So they did a good job, and it was a tough project to get done. And even the Tiscupu wall turned out to be a little bit tougher than they were planning on it. So it looks like it all turned out pretty well, and it looks good down there. And they've only applied for 1 payment.
excellent. Any discussion, questions on this? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on this then too.
Blau, Lytle,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Levine,
Yes.
Picard,
Yes.
Horsler, Heisler.
Yes.
All right, 7 in favor, none opposed, motion carries. Payment application number 1 has been approved. New business item number 6, consider approval for the acceptance of the EGLE grant in the amount of $90,000 even for the Hancock waterfront shoreline project.
Move to accept.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Mary, you want to go ahead again?
This project, I've been working on this grant for about a year. It is for the property done by the Ramada. It's going from the end of our current walkway, and it'll go to the city property line. And it is going to be to try to help with the erosion down there. It has been very, right now we've lost even more of our ground, so they're going to have to do some redesigning to see if we can even get the work done that we had planned on putting a sidewalk in there with a natural barrier. But I was happy to see this come through, and hopefully we can have enough area to put the sidewalk in.
Since we put in the application, I've visited that area a couple times, and it really is beautiful, kind of that strip between Boardwalk Rapids and the bridge. There's all sorts of really great views and kind of aspects you don't normally see of the city, and it's a, yeah, I think a good area to kind of invest some energy into.
So this will be funded partially from the DDA. It will not be coming out of the general fund.
Well, I fully support it. I don't know. Sounds good. All right. Nothing further then. We'll do a roll call on this too then, please.
Heisler,
Yes.
Forstler,
Yes.
Ricard,
Yes.
Levine,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Lidle,
Yes.
Blau.
All right, 7 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. We have accepted the EGLE grant. Excellent. Okay, so that concludes our business for tonight. So at this time, I'll open up our floor for the second and final public comment. If you wish to address the council, please step up, state your name and address, and speak freely.
Good evening. My name is John Zurcher, resident of Hancock, on Summit Street. The question I have is, first of all, I would like to thank every one of you on giving us the opportunity as a Navy veteran, as Mr. Freeman is a veteran, on the cost of riding on the public transit bus, free of charge. Wonderful. Everybody that I came in contact with, they really like that. They think it's wonderful. The second thing is, like, you were talking about the Hancock Beach, the Hancock campground area. I may be, correct me on this, Barry, are we gonna go, or the city, I should say, is gonna go across 203 into government lot number 6 for expansion purposes?
There are no plans right now to do that, to go across M203 for that. There was a plan talked about last year to put a walkway to cross over M203 to get to the Mosquito Trails that have a trailhead.
Yeah,
On that one.
it would be Mosquito Trailhead Road.
Right now,
I think if I'm right, it's lot number 6. The map was here, but, also, concerning public works, on that, like yourself and John, our public works director, there is a lot of stuff that's up there that could be available to put up for auction. I don't know how that works, but getting back to a couple of months ago, on the information here, spending $9,500 on used vehicles, I'm not saying it doesn't make any sense. The money could go to a better cause, because these trucks are, like this particular vehicle is 2000, I think it was something like I don't know, something like 2013 or something like that, but low mileage at 9,500. Wow. If we could, if you and John could take inventory of what's available up there at the works, and more or less get rid of some of the used equipment, I don't know if that would be feasible. I don't know, but whatever you guys think, to spend that kind of money on vehicles when there's probably like 5 pickup trucks up there. There's one sitting up in the cemetery, a lot up there. God only knows why it's there. Well, I don't know. But I thought I'd bring it to your attention because that money could go elsewhere. I don't know. But, that's up to you guys. I mean, it's, the money's, I'm not saying that it's being wasted. I mean, there's other causes for that amount. I don't know. But I hope everything turns out fine. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zurcher. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? All right, I do not see anyone who wishes to address the council, so I will now close our second and final public comment for tonight. So as is custom, before we adjourn, I will open up the floor to any councilors who wish to speak on any topic they wish, local or otherwise. I would look at John first, but yeah.
Someone else want to go first?
Oh, yes, I do. Happy holidays.
That's what we're doing. Merry Christmas.
Very short. Mary, are those machines that are running up and down Main Street constantly, those are from the,
We love
Yeah, the errands.
yeah,
They are testing new equipment on the city sidewalks, and they've been doing a great job for us.
oh, yeah.
They originally were going to be using some city buildings and property, but they have worked it out. They've rented a couple different locations in Hancock, and they will be bringing other electric snow blowers in January to also be testing. And it's great. In January, they're hopefully going to be doing more residential streets also.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
So
that's
it's worked
less,
out perfect, and our sidewalks have been kept in really great shape. And we've also noticed that with our new DPW director, he's also been cleaning out the banks along Quincy Street a little bit more often. And MDOT has been working with him also, so it's, so far we've had a pretty good winter in that respect.
yeah, let's shoveling the sidewalk in front of the store. Awesome.
I'll tell him you said that.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Oh, no, I'm
Okay.
okay.
All right.
No, I see.
You guys have anything?
I guess I have something
Go ahead.
about, there's been just a lot of buzz about the bridge and possible for a second bridge being built or just the brainstorm about it really. And I think it would be advantageous to try to maximize the current bridge we have as much as possible. And I think that would be having it in the down position so that pedestrians, snowmobiles, ATVs could be using the bottom track while cars and trucks are using the upper track. And a lot of our commuters and congestion on the bridge are people that could be commuting back and forth from work or school or shopping, using that lower track. We could have a waterfront that goes from Michigan Tech to the Hancock Beach available for pedestrians that then might offset some of the people in cars that, if you could count on that being available, you might choose to walk or bike or use an electric bike or ATV instead of driving.
I agree with that, and I think the way that our city is set up to get on and off the bridge isn't super safe for pedestrians and bicyclists, and I think that would be great if we managed to do that.
Unfortunately, I don't think we have any control at all with either city. The waterways are controlled by maritime rules. So we really don't have any say. We can suggest, just like we were hoping, knowing like how 2 lanes were down on each side, everyone's complaining, but we really couldn't do anything about it. It's done now.
Yeah, it seems like it was back to normal today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's lowered.
Yeah, I was surprised they even went with the recreational vehicle window because, it's pulling arms, trying to get anything done there. So. But no, I agree though, we shouldn't just be passive either in any discussions as well.
Right.
I do like the ideas.
Be nice.
I agree with Ron. It's the pros and cons of having a trunk line, right? Pros and cons.
It might take an act of Congress.
Yeah.
But a Christmas miracle.
Anything else, Will? Did you have anything, Ron? Okay. All right, we'll look at the leather wing here. Anybody? John, go ahead.
I'll echo Ron's Merry Christmas comments to everyone. Safe travels if you're traveling. Enjoy the holiday. Real quick, there is, and I might be jumping the gun here. I'm sure our city manager will tell us about our next meeting, which will be the third Wednesday in January, but there is tentatively scheduled for January 26th, which is will be the following Wednesday, a week after our next regular meeting, at 6:30 at Franklin Township Hall, a public meeting to talk about the Hancock to Lake Linden MDOT rail grade. So, if you're interested in that, put that on your calendar. It's 6:30 on the 26th. So, heads up on that. My two, I guess, least favorite topics that I'm still beating the horse on. There's actually an interesting follow-up. I did have a conversation with Senator McBroom about House Bill 4722. Got a lot of good comments from him, very much appreciated. One of the things he said was, when I told him about my issue about whether or not it was going to impact, neighborhoods like mine where we had covenants in the form of deed restrictions. And he said, in his interpretation, because of the way the bill is framed, that it's for the purposes of zoning, absolutely not. Absolutely not. The bill will not have any impact on the covenants in the form of deed restrictions, which is great, for me personally. But if you think about it for the city, that means that there's likely going to be a much smaller space to fit your 30% short-term rentals. If you take out, and some neighborhoods might acquiesce, depending on how they feel individually about short-term rentals. But if you actually took out all the neighborhoods, such as Sullivan Estates and Quincy Meadows and things like that, that have those, type of deed restriction covenants, now you've got to fit potentially 30% short-term rentals in a much smaller, we stay in the denominator, but we're not in the numerator. So you really could see the way the bill passed the House, that some neighborhoods should just completely become short-term rentals. Some sections of the could just become completely short-term rentals. So that's an interesting way to look at it. And of course, even what Senator McBroom said will have to be determined. I'm sure there'll be a lawsuit on that if this does actually become law. But he was adamant that that would not affect neighborhoods that have deed restrictions against things like short-term rentals. So, and then I guess I'll just lastly say, Redistributing Commission. The oral arguments before the Supreme Court started today. I just can't make any sense of what their argument is. I mean, it's nonsensical, but I guess 61% of the people wanted this, and it's turned into a huge waste of taxpayer money. And we still haven't seen what's going to come out of it as far as the maps. Again, the maps may be less gerrymandered than if we left them up to the political parties, but the process certainly has sucked. And the waste of money has certainly become bigger and bigger and bigger as this keeps getting pushed into the process. So, to be continued, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what the Supreme Court has to say about it.
I think it's interesting how there is incentive to keep this going, though, as you mentioned. So
I'm convinced that the wall lawyers that they built around them, certainly the lawyers understand that there's strong incentive for them to keep this tied up in court. Public money getting wasted. It's going in their pockets. What do they care? Not to disparage all lawyers.
I can't stand lawyers more than anyone. There's a little self-loathing in the profession. Keep going, John. I didn't want to cut you off if you had anything else.
I'm good.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak? All right. Well, I echo the comments. You guys have a great holiday. Merry Christmas, whatever your flavor is. Have a Happy New Year. Be safe. And that's all I have for tonight, I believe. and the council as well, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We are now adjourned. Thank you all and have a great evening and Christmas. Take care.
Jump on the gun on that.